Hey guys, it's Will here and welcome back to the Tale of Four Gamers. We're up to 1,000 points this month and we've got a double game for you tonight. So starting off with my Scythes of the Emperor taking on Adam's Tyranids, and then we've got a second video coming which will be Sam's Astra Militarum taking on Tom's Thousand Sons, although actually what it'll be is Magnus the Red and a few dudes helping him out, taking on most of an artillery company, judging by what I've seen Sam painting. So yeah, that should be an interesting one. Scythes of the Emperor and Tyranids, obviously a little bit of a grudge match there. It's not High Fleet Kraken, but all bugs die just as nicely. And yeah, then we're going to see if anyone can take down Magnus. Playing Maelstrom of War, random missions for both of them. And yeah, Sam will be doing the Batrep for the second one because we actually played these simultaneously. So I was filming my one and Sam was filming his game. But yeah, without further ado, let's go and see what you really want to see, which is how the armies have all grown this month. Right, so here's the latest incarnation of the Scythes of the Emperor, up to 1,000 points. The main additions this month are the captain in Gravis armour. Got the converted power scythe on there. That's just going to count as a mastercrafted power sword. And the other big addition is the Redemptor Dreadnought. We've got the Gatling cannon there, the heavy Gatling cannon there, storm bolters, and he is ready to unleash some Daka. I've also bulked out the third, or bulked out the intercessors, so that I now have 3 squads of 5. One with a power sword, the other 2 without. And then I got my Hellblasters and my Whirlwind that you've seen before. Really hoping that the Hellblasters can get to do something this game. In the last game I played with them, they were charged by Magnus on turn 1 and didn't get a chance to do anything. But this time things should be a little bit different.
Right, so this is my 1,000 points of Tyranids for this month's game. We've got a fairly similar list, adding and changing a few bits, but let's go through it. To start, for the Warlord, we've got the new Tervagon, which I'm quite pleased with how it's looking. That's going to be armed with a Catalyst Psychic Power, otherwise it's just stock. We've got the old Hive Tyrant, which has got the Horror and Catalyst. That's just going to be flying around killing things, hopefully this time around. Then for troops, we've got 8 Gene Stealers, who are coming in with the big old Tervagon. We've got 10 Hormgunts, and the big addition, which is 20 Termagants, 8 Devourers and 12 Flesh Borers, and then 3 Raveners, which are now armed with Despitters because the Spine Fists weren't doing a huge amount. So we'll see how it works out.
Okay, so the armies for the first game are all set to go now. We've rolled up Cleanse and Control mission with Dawn and War deployment, so it's a nice straightforward 3 objectives a turn and a nice straightforward deployment. So over here Adam has deployed his big blob of termagants behind the trees. There is an objective over there and he's got his Tervagon with them to support them. Hive Tyrants in the middle and Hormagaunts on this flank. He's got his Raveners and his Trigon in reserves, looking to make the most of the Trigon special rule to bring them all up nice and close. I've got my Whirlwind on this flank here, guarding that objective. And then the majority of my army deployed over here. We've got Intercessors, Lieutenant, Redemptor, Intercessors, Captain, Hellblasters and more Intercessors, trying to keep close together to make the most of the various buffs, and you know, when outnumbered it works well to stick together. So that's deployment. At the moment, due to having several less units and being able to put the Raveners and the Trigon down together, Adam has first turn, but I am going to have a crack at seizing. No, it's a 5. Initiative not stolen, and on to Tyranid, turn 1. So Adam drew 3 objectives and originally got Scour the Skies, Supremacy and Overwhelming Firepower. Decided to burn 2 command points to get rid of Scour the Skies and instead got Defend 4, which suited him much better, and he scurried his Hormagaunts up ready to claim that. He then brought on all his reserves, so the Trigon and the accompanying Gene Stealers came up here. Raveners came on over the other side. I attempted to Auspex scan at the Gene Stealers from this Intercessor squad, and did kill 2 of them, so that was a half-decent start there. Moved up his Termagants into the woods. We moved the trees out of the way just so they could move easily. Tervagon is behind in cover. The way we house rule it here at 40k Gaming is that closely packed woods completely obscure line of sight, so he is out of sight there. And then the Hive Tyrant came up here to sit on objective 1 in case he gets that later on in the game. Shooting, despite him having overwhelming firepower this turn, was, as you'd expect from a Tyranid shooting phase, really not very effective. The Raveners achieved nothing with their Death Spitters. The Termagants were just out of range. The Trygon managed to put... Sorry, the Hive Tyrant put a single wound on the Intercessors, and then the Trygon shot for the Whirlwind, not wanting to shorten the charge range to the Intercessors, and did absolutely nothing. Assaults was a little bit more interesting though, so the Gene Stealers and the Trygon declared at this Intercessor squad. Gene Stealers failed to get in, but suffered no casualties on Overwatch. Trygon managed to get an 8 exactly, which was just enough because he's got adrenal glands, so he got in and butchered the squad for no damage in return. There's the Sergeant and 1 dude left alive on there who just passed the leadership test. And then over here the Raveners failed their charge despite using a command point, so a little bit unlucky there, but he has scored supremacy this turn for holding 3 objectives. Got the one over there, the one there, and number 4 over the back there. So that leads him off with 2 points, and yeah, it's time to see how the Scythes of the Emperor are going to respond. Scythes of the Emperor start off with 3 cards: Scour the Skies, Assassinate, and Secure 5. Now, as much as I would love to have killed the Hive Tyrant to score 2 of those, these trees were in the way, and I had a Trygon to deal with that was a more pressing matter. So really just rejigged my army a little bit, moved the surviving Intercessors out of combat, and moved my Redemptor out of the way so the Hellblasters could get a clean shot on the Trygon. And that worked rather well. As you can see, there is no Trygon, blown apart by the Hellblasters. Did have 2 overheat, but the Captain's reroll saved them. Other than that, it was a case of just clear out the deployment zone. So the Dreadnought fired its Stormbolters and underslung Gatling Cannon at the Gene Stealers, killing them off. Its heavy Gatling Cannon went for the Raveners and killed 1 of them. And the Icarus rockets put a wound on the Hive Tyrant. I then fired both my Intercessor squads that were over here at the Raveners, leaving them on just 1 guy left, who subsequently failed his morale check and ran away. And then the 2 from this squad missed because they'd moved out of combat, so at -1 to hit, but they had gone for the Hive Tyrant. And the Whirlwind went for the Hive Tyrant and put another couple of wounds on there with its Vengeance missiles, so not a bad little turn. I've cleared out the most immediate threats: Gene Stealers, Raveners, and the Trygon. The Hive Tyrant's still a problem, and I wasn't able to get anything really to deal with the Hormagaunts that are going to score, or have now scored, that defend objective. So, that's first blood for a point. Secure Objective 5 was achieved by the Whirlwind, so that is 2 points to me, 3 points to the Tyranids as we go into Adam's second turn. So pretty good cards once again for the Tyranids. He got Objective 4 again, which he was easily able to score obviously, and also Advance, which he just needed to move his Tervagon out of his deployment zone, which was straightforward enough. In the Psychic phase he put Catalyst onto those Termagants, and the Hive Tyrant Catalyst himself, no he didn't, he did Horror at the Whirlwind and then smited it for 2 damage. Shooting then did another wound to the Whirlwind, but he subsequently failed his charge despite a command point reroll and adrenal glands, and only being 7 inches away. It was very unfortunate. The dice have not favoured Adam's charge game at all today. But over here, had a little bit of luck as well with the shooting. The Termagants had advanced to just within rapid fire range of the Intercessors and killed 1 of them. So while he didn't do a lot of damage, he did grab another couple of points because he got Secure Objective 4 in Advance, which brings him up to 5 points, and he discarded his other card, which was Witch Hunter, because obviously I have no Psyker in this list. So he's taken a bit of a lead on points. I've just got 2 versus his 5. But, you know, my army's looking a bit more intact, so let's see what we can do with this on turn 2. Assassinate, Scour the Skies, Big Game Hunter. All of these objectives could be scored if I could just take out the Hive Tyrant, who was hiding over there with my Whirlwind. The Hellblasters were 36 inches away, moved them so they were just in range. That was the back guy was 36, so the whole squad could just get to within 30 inches. Moved up the Captain and the Lieutenant to keep them by, and the Dreadnought. All of that, the Hellblasters, the Dreadnought, these 2 Intercessors, and eventually even the Whirlwind, all fired at the Hive Tyrant. And it's left alive on 1 wound. 1 wound. The Hellblasters were the ones who were supposed to do the job. 30 inches out, 5 shots. Could have been enough to take him down because he was already wounded. But one of them rolled a 1 on its overcharge shot, and then proceeded to roll a 1 on the reroll. So that was 1 Hellblaster down, and the 5-up Invan just saved the Hive Tyrant from them. And yeah, the Dreadnought's lack of strength, the Whirlwind's lack of accuracy, it was just enough to keep him alive. He is now degraded, but I've scored nothing this turn. Other than that, the 2 other Intercessor squads took a few casualties onto the Termagants, but not anything significant. It was just like a couple of guys. Catalyst was keeping them alive for the most part. So not a lot scored, but I'm very close to taking out the Hive Tyrant, and he is now worth a bunch of points if I can take him down. But anyway, without further ado, let's go on to Tyranid turn 2. So Adam's 3 cards this turn were Domination, Hold the Line, and Behind Enemy Lines. Domination wasn't going to be on because he only had 4 units left on the table, but he thought his Hive Tyrant could probably get behind enemy lines and take out the Whirlwind, and then he pulled everything else back into his deployment zone to score him Hold the Line and press his points advantage. So they did virtually nothing back there. Hive Tyrant Catalyst himself and smited the Whirlwind. Actually got an 11 on the Psychic test, and so was able to do 4 damage to the Whirlwind. He then charged and blew it up, and then I rolled a 6 on my Explode, killing the Hive Tyrant along with the Whirlwind. So he scored 1 point that turn for Hold the Line. I scored 3 points for Scour the Skies, Assassinate, and Big Game Hunter. My Exploding Whirlwind scored me more points than the rest of my army put together that turn. Sheer luck. It was good fun, you know. Last ditch attempt to take down the enemy, just blow yourself up. Yeah, it was good. So yeah, that has brought the points back a little bit closer to even, but I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do much this turn because everything is hiding at long range now. But we shall see. On to Space Marine turn 3. So having scored 3 objectives last turn, I was able to draw 3 new ones. Secure 4, Defend 6, and No Mercy, No Respite. Secure 4 was going to be rather tricky because my army was somewhat slow, and 4 was all the way over there. But Defend 6 is nice and straightforward. 6 is just over here, so I pulled this squad across. They just need to survive a turn. Rest of my army basically ran because they were very little they could actually see and or get in range of. So just pushed them up forward, get into position for next turn. This squad were able to take some snapshots or some, you know, lucky shots at the Tervagon, and I thought I'd managed to wound it till I realised that actually Tervagon's toughness 8. So yeah, not really much done that turn, but I'm in position to score Defend 6. So swiftly on to the Tyranid turn. So a tough 4th turn for the Tyranids here. He had score objective 6, which was right over here, as well as Assassinate and Behind Enemy Lines, which his force wasn't really in position to do. He swarmed the Hormigaunts down this side, I think hoping he might be able to get them down for Line Breaker, or just grab objectives late game. And the Tyranid Termagants pushed up into the woods again. We had to clear the trees out to let them through, and fired a whole load of shots that did a total of 1 wound to this Intercessor squad. Turn ended with him discarding score 6 because he weren't going to get there, and I scored Defend 6 because I'd been holding that last turn as well. So that brings us up to 7-7 as we head into the 4th Space Marine turn. So my entire turn took place on this flank. I was still holding No Mercy, No Respite, but also had Area Denial, which was easy enough because there was actually nothing in 12 of the centre point anyway. So continued to push my forces up, closing in on the Termagants and Tervagon. Ran the Hellblasters into the woods because they weren't going to get line of sight on the Tervagon this turn, so better to line up a shot for next turn while staying relatively safe. And then everything just opened up on the Termagants, killed all bar 2 of them, who were then charged by one of the intercessor squads and the Dreadnought. The Dreadnought, which had killed about 10 of the Termagants and shooting, didn't even get a chance to swing. The intercessors cut them down. So that's the Termagant squad gone for No Mercy, No Respite for 1 point, and I need to D3 for Area Denial. That's another 1 point. Next turn, I'm pretty sure the Tervagon is coming out to charge the Dreadnought, but worst case scenario, if he does wreck me, the Hellblasters will get me retribution. Here we go with Tyranid, turn 5. So 3 decent objectives for Adam this turn: Assassinate, Behind Enemy Lines, and Area Denial. Now, unfortunately, he was unable to get Area Denial because the centre point is about there, so it was a little bit too close to the Hellblasters, and he wasn't able to finish them. But he's working on getting behind enemy lines with his Hormagaunts, and they are way too far away from the rest of my force for me to stop him. And then Assassinate. He burst his Tervagon out of cover. I thought he would have gone for the Dreadnought, but instead he went for the more sensible option of going after the Lieutenant, who was an easy kill, and the Captain was just out of range to do a heroic intervention. And then the Tervagon was able to rampage on as he consolidated into the Hellblasters. So tough turn. He's scored the point for Assassinate, and that Tervagon is right up in my face. But I think I've still got enough to deal with it. But I'm going to have to let these Hormagaunts go. There's nothing I can do about them. But hey, they'll only get him a point for behind enemy lines, and probably a point for line breaker at the end. Incidentally, my Captain tried to save... Oh yes, there was the squad here. Forgot about the squad here. There were 2 Marines left there. He smited them. My Captain tried to stop it with his Sanctic Halo, but rolled a double 1, and then he was able to shoot them with his Stinger salvos. So yeah, still a little bit on the close side, but I need to stop that Tervagon this turn. So really wanted to take down that Tervagon this turn. So backed my Hellblasters out and fired at it. But with the -1, they lost a dude because they had some really bad to hit rolls. They actually still need to take a morale check. Yeah, they're fine. Everything else shot for the Tervagon, and did a total of 4 wounds to it, including the 2 wounds done by the Hellblasters. And then I charged the Dreadnought and the Captain in there. Dreadnought had a great time with his Power Fist and did a huge amount of damage. Captain, on the other hand, didn't have such a good time of it. Got loads of hits, but just couldn't roll that 6 to wound. Tervagon swang back and missed with everything. And yeah, that was all she wrote. So I managed to get secure objective 2, so there's a point for secure 6 for a point with this squad, and then defend 2 I'm holding, so next turn I might be able to grab that. But that's if there is another turn, because the game could be ending right now. On a 1 or a 2 the game ends. Adam, if you'd like to do the honours. It's a 4, 1 more turn, here we go. So a very quick Tyranid turn. Hormagaunts ran into my deployment zone to score behind enemy lines, and that will also allow them to be a line breaker at the end, because I don't think I'm going to get to them before the game's up. Tervagon was locked in combat and attempted to smite my Captain, but he was holding Mastery of the Warp, so that was quite a good one if he could have done it. But unfortunately for him, my Sanctic Halo saved him. He got a 9 for his smite, but then I rolled a double 6 for my dispel, so that was rather handy. And then because he's degraded down to 1 wound, he's needing 5s to hit, and obviously was unable to hit. So just the 1 point that turn for Adam. But yeah, let's see if we can finally deal with this monster in the 6th Space Marine turn. So we just realised I forgot to swing back with my Dreadnought and Captain, so we rolled that, and unsurprisingly the Dreadnought, another round of attacks, was able to wipe out the Turvigon, who strangely doesn't have a death throws, but I suppose that's probably because he has Synaptic Backlash. So yeah, Turvigon's out, and as we head into my final, probably my final turn, there's just some Hormagaunts to deal with. So very little happened this turn. With the Turvigon gone, I just needed to go and focus on the Hormagaunts. My objectives were Master of the Warp, Honour Your Chapter and Domination. I'm going to start by discarding Master of the Warp, and there's actually none of these were scoreable, but didn't have anything else any other way to discard them. But I just pushed up everything, most of it ran, only the Hellblasters got into range and they managed to kill 2, and I think he lost another 1 or 2 to leadership. But could the game be ending right now? No, one final turn. So the final 2 turns we've played out as one thing basically, not shot in between. He moved the surviving Hormagaunts away from me, just trying to survive and avoid a tabling. He didn't have any objectives that he could score. Neither did I, so I just pushed the units that could get into range, fired, and killed all bar one of them after leadership. So almost a tabling, but one lone Hormagaunt on the edge of the world stopped him from being tabled. Now, it wasn't enough to cost me the victory. I was 13 points to 9 up by the end with First Blood and Linebreaker, so a nice solid victory for the Scythes, and their victory in their first ever solo game. So yeah, good result, pleased with that. Anyway, I'll see you guys in a second for the post-game. So, a nice solid victory there for the Scythes of the Emperor. It's a good fun game, and in the beginning it looked like the Nids were going to overwhelm me, but it didn't quite work out that way, did it?
Yeah, there's just a few charge rolls in that first round that kind of changed the whole game, but I'm still quite pleased with how it went. So.
Yeah, I say you certainly were able to stall me up, and yeah, it was those early charges. If you'd got those in, that would have been a much different game. Hellblasters did great when they started off, and the Redemptor was solid. I think your man of the match was them Hormagaunts.
Yeah, pretty much. For 50 points they were really running away scoring objectives, but there was a bit too much running away overall for my taste and gameplay. But you've got to play to the objectives and play tactically. So
yeah, I say once you'd took big casualties early on, it was down to scoring objectives, because you had the lead up till about turn 4, so you played it right by trying to grab them, but dice just didn't go your way tonight.
No, I'm thinking about it as well. It was actually almost 500 points I lost in turn 1.
Yeah, say
why hurt?
I think clustering my guys together was a good plan. It certainly made the most of my buffs, even if it did compromise my mobility. I think next month need to add something fast to the list to get where I need to go. But yeah. What about you? What do you reckon you'll be adding?
I've no idea what I'm adding. I'm waiting for my codex, really, hopefully, in the next week or 2. So I'm going to get my hands on that and then see where we go from there.
Yes, Codex Tyranids is due out pretty soon. So yeah, that should be big changes for the Nids, hopefully. And you know, if they get as good a codex as some of the others, it's going to be a tough challenge for the rest of us.
There's definitely a lot of. It seems almost like free upgrades or points drops with stratagems and stuff. So yeah. No army's gotten any worse yet, so I'm hopeful.
Exactly, yeah. So Codex has been good so far, and we hope for more. And that was a good game. Now, this is only half of this month's Tale of 4 Gamers, so if you want to continue following us, I'll put a link in the description to the next video, which will be Sam taking on Tom. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, guys. I'll see you later. Bye.